Hello, hello. All right, let's talk about what makes Young Living stand out from all the other essential oil companies out there. Apparently, that was hard to say. A lot of you may have heard me already talk about why I love Young Living, but truly, the reason why I love Young Living is that their oils are pure, that they have a promise. It's called Seed to Seal, and Seed to Seal basically says from the moment we handpick our seeds to plant them in the ground, to bottling them, to getting them to you, they are exactly what they say they are. They're pure essential oils that are unadulterated. And whatever is listed on the label is exactly what's in that bottle. So I want you to think of it this way. What you're getting is a pure plant or tree product. You're not getting anything but that. Seed to Seal, basically, like I said, it's the highest grade oils that they can provide, that they will provide you, that are out there. All right. The company isn't going to put anything on that label that isn't actually in the bottle, or what's in the bottle is actually on the label. And maybe that's not something you've thought about before, but there's a little loophole, and the loophole is that you don't necessarily have to put on the label every ingredient in there, because maybe it's a byproduct, or maybe it's this, or maybe it's that. And you can say the word natural because there's no, the FDA doesn't require anything that says in order to say natural it is this, this, and this. Anyone can say natural on any of their products, right? So you want to know what's in there. And the reason why you want to know what's in there is because if you're trying to ditch toxins, you want to make sure you're getting a good thing, right? Or maybe you're allergic to something, and that allergy should be listed on that bottle. And so here's the thing. All right, I'm going to be frank with you, and I'm going to kind of talk about other companies and what they're doing. So there's a thing called bio-adulteration, and bio-adulteration is basically a lab-created scent. So I'm going to read to you a little bit from my notes because I don't want to get it wrong. But bio-adulteration is actually out there. It's making scents from a lab from fungi and yeast. It's a synthetic fragrance that isn't natural, but per the FDA rules, since it comes from a mushroom or a fungi, it's a natural substance. Okay? So companies use this fake synthetic fungi addition to make their oil smell sweeter. There is at least one that I can think of off the top of my head that I know that every oil I smell, you can smell sweet or vanilla in their product, no matter what it is. And it's never listed, which is kind of a bummer. Like, that was one of the reasons why I didn't go with them. So if Young Living were to find this while they're running their many, many processes, they test their stuff so many times in so many different ways, not just in-house, out-house, third party, like a bazillion times before it even gets to you. But if they found it at any step in the process, that's it. That oil is done. It's done. They're not using it. They're not selling it. They're not going to give it to another company to use. It's gone. And so I guess I should go back. One of the things, let's say a certain oil doesn't meet the right specifications during a test. So as an example, it was Valor, like 2014-ish. And Valor is a really popular oil. But one of the trees that's in there is grown in the rainforest. In that year, it rained like way more than normal. So it threw the specifications off. So every plant has a certain specification or range in which it should fall into, and this didn't meet it. And they didn't use that batch, meaning Young Living didn't have Valor for like a really long time, possibly 2 years. So they lost out on that money. And you know what? Loving the people that they provide product to more than the money coming in is what was the main focus. They weren't going to bring a subpar product to people just to get the money in because people were clamoring for Valor. So, their essential oils are one of the most adulterated things out there. I want you to consider this, that when a company makes a batch of oils quickly using high heat and high heat, and they do this quickly and they distill it quickly, they're actually losing the therapeutic components or constituents of the essential oil. But the oil smells sweet, and guess what? They get more of it to sell. So you have no therapeutic benefits, but they've got more of it, so they're making more money. So a good company distills each individual essential oil at the perfect time, the perfect temperature, and the perfect amount of pressure to get exactly a quality essential oil. All right, this is what Young Living does. I'm sure that is not a surprise to you. Each oil needs to be distilled or out in the field for a certain amount of time. And Young Living picks their crops at the best time. At the, jasmine needs to be picked at a certain time. It needs to be picked at night, or, maybe it needs to be picked in the morning. I don't remember. But there are certain oils that need to be picked and then distilled in a certain way to get the most therapeutic benefits. And, Young Living has been around for 25 years, and they're doing it right. Something else I want you to kind of think about is you can get essential oils everywhere now, which is totally awesome. And I got it wrong. I will admit, I got some essential oils from someplace, and I tried it, and I had a reaction, and I was like, what's the deal? And it didn't work. What's the deal? I don't see what the big deal is. And then one of my friends was like, no. Come here. Let me, give you some of this. Just try it and see. And I was like, whoa, like that actually worked. And oh my goodness, I can breathe again. So she forced me to try and see the difference. And it wasn't hard to see. So essential oils are not the same. What you find in Walmart is not going to be the same as what you find at even Target in the dollar bin, or Bed Bath & Beyond, or the Whole Foods, or wherever you get your essential oils. All the qualities are different. There's 4 different levels. That's coming. You can check that out underneath this video. I'll show you all the different levels and what falls into that. But just know that Young Living is pure therapeutic grade. They're right at the top. Of course, right? I wouldn't be here if they weren't, because what's the point? So basically, we talked about different ways, different grades, right? But I want to talk about something else that's kind of a myth. It's kind of an excuse. A lot of times you'll see, oh, well, Young Living's awesome, or, this brand's awesome, but I use this because they're Wildcrafted and they're organic. There's no standard for organic, just so that you know. You can buy that label for your product, which kind of stinks for people who are trying to do better. You can say it's natural, and it doesn't necessarily exactly have to be natural. It can be lab created. We just talked about that. You can say a lot of different things on your label, but Wildcrafted is one that really bugs me. And at first it made total sense to me. I was like, yeah, I want Wildcrafted peppermint, which basically means we don't have a farm. We don't have a handle on how this peppermint was grown, or whatever. It could be anything, lavender, lemons, whatever. So what they do with Wildcrafted is they say, we get our peppermint from where it's originally grown from. So let's say India as an example. And we go out to the hillside, and we go to the meadow, and we go to your neighbor's bush and grab some peppermint, and then we go and distill it. That's what Wildcrafted is. They grab it where it grows. Sounds amazing, right? Because it sounded cool to me. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Until you think about all the other things. Well, I'm going to read to you a list. Let's see. Questions to ask. How was that plant grown? Was there pollution there? Was it on the side of the road? Was it, what's the soil like? Were there herbicides or pesticides used? I don't know. And guess what? They don't know either. So, yeah, that sounds great. It's Wildcrafted. It's from the place it should be originally grown. It's an excuse. Let me just call a spade, all right? This isn't normally something I do, but I feel like it's important that people kind of understand the vast qualities and aromatherapy benefits of something. So great, that's awesome. You got it off the side of the road, cars are driving by, getting, exhaust all over it, and then I'm gonna go and put that on my body? Or, it's just, it's kind of silly. It just doesn't make sense when you really kind of step it through. To go back real quick to, let's say, your Bed Bath & Beyond, your Kohl's, your Target Dollar Bin essential oils. On the back, when they say topical use only, I want you to stop and think about that. Why can't you diffuse it? But it's okay to put it on my skin. My skin is my largest organ, right? If I'm putting something on my skin, it's going into my bloodstream, no matter what I put on my skin. So if I can't diffuse that essential oil, why can't I put it on me topically? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It should set off a red flag for you. Kind of like the Wildcrafted excuse, all right? That should also set off a red flag. So we talked a little bit about seed to seal, but before I get into that, I want to talk about Gary's beliefs in how things should be raised. He believes that where he, chooses his farming, it's a place with low to no pollution that hasn't been farmed to death, that, it isn't over-farmed soil, that's had no contaminants on it, to the best of your ability. I have a feeling, in lots of rural places, that's not an issue. But, when he picks a spot, he really does his research. But what else he does is this. He chooses areas to farm in that have pure soil, that haven't been farmed or haven't been over-farmed, and supports the local economy by investing not only in the land, but the farmers, their equipment, the distillers, the crops. And while he creates, a security for this rural community in whatever area he chooses. And a lot of times he did a lot of community service. He built schools, he built hospitals, like whatever it was that this community needed, is what he did. But when, Gary went to France, he did learn from the masters. And what he said to them, or what they said to him is, this whole Wildcrafted thing, if you think about it, if you're going to where the plant is and you're not setting plants in the ground, you're very quickly not going to have a plant or essential oils. So that was it. That was when Gary got serious. He went and bought the farm in St. Mary's, and that's kind of how it all flourished. He learned from these masters. So to go back now to seed to seal. Seed to seal is a 5-step protocol for a farm. It's for farms, vendors worldwide to ensure the highest quality of essential oil to provide to you, the member, so that you have confidence that you're buying the highest purity of essential oil that's out there. And that's how we started the company, and that's how it's going to remain. Nothing is going to change. So I just, it's important to know kind of where this all started and how we got here, right? So like I said to you before, the standards are really, really high. They're really rigorous. And that's just what he believed. And he wasn't going to compromise on those standards, his integrity, or his passion. So, I started thinking about that, and I started realizing what goes into each bottle, and started thinking about the types of places I give my money and who I wanted to give my money to, and, how are these companies out there handling their best practices? Are they doing best practices? Because Young Living was, and it really kind of changed how I shopped, like, honestly. Just looking at my notes to make sure I got it all. But it did. It changed how I shopped. I no longer was going to Target. I still go to Target. I get a few things. I don't buy a lot like I used to, and I certainly don't wander anymore. Time to time I wander. Most of the time I don't wander. But I started shopping local. I started, getting more organic vegetables. It's changed. Learning about seed to seal changed how I shopped. So down below this video, I do have the 5 pillars, the seed to seal promise, why I personally love Young Living, and some more really awesome information. So if you have questions, let me know, and I will see you all in the next post.